What's up, YouTube? I was asked to do a video on my take on the whole idea of a death panel. And it's ironic that I got the question because TMOT just did a video on his take, and the user probably saw that video and asked me, and of course I saw that video. So I guess it's proper to give my take, and I'll post it as a vid response to TMOT's. Now, well, first of all, let's talk about what a death panel is. Now, let's assume that we do go with a more universal healthcare system. Now, it is common knowledge that if we went to a more universal healthcare system, everybody would not have access to some of the emergency procedures that people need, right? There's critical care, and critical care is extremely expensive. Okay, it's very expensive. We're talking about the surgeries and the treatments to prolong life. Those are very expensive, and not cheap. So even if we did go with a universal health care, everybody would not have access to it because it would be too costly. So everybody has to understand that now. Now, whether they're going to tell you that, I don't know, but everybody will not have access to life-saving health care because, like I said, it would just be too expensive. So the whole idea of the death panel came up because, the next logical question is, well, then who's going to receive, right, this life-saving type of care? Who's going to get it? If everybody can't get it, then who is? So the whole idea of a panel the whole idea would pretty much be a panel that would talk about or discuss, who's eligible versus who's not. So I'm not sure who would be on this panel, but it would just be a group of people, and I'm assuming doctors, I'm assuming, other medical related people, would determine if this person was worth saving, or is it more economical and cost effective to let this person die. Okay, so that's, the whole idea of the death panel, or at least according to how I understand it, and how I interpret, what it is to me. Now, do I believe that there would actually be a panel of people sitting down and deciding? No. I feel like it would be more covert, and I believe that if we did go with the more universal health care, I believe that the government would come up with quotas. For example, they may tell Hospital A, you guys only have enough funds to perform, let's say, 10 life-saving surgeries a month. Okay, you only have 10 slots. We can't afford anything more, right? Even if we try to make cuts here and there and try to lower the price, we can't afford to save everybody's life. We just can't. So Hospital A, you only have 10 slots in terms of life-saving treatments a month. So the next question is, who's going to get those 10 slots? Obviously, there's going to be more than 10 people who are going to need life-saving surgery. But who's going to be eligible to get it? Are they going to do random select? No. Are they going to say, put your name in a hat and, we're going to draw it out? I don't think so. What I think is going to happen is you're going to have the whole idea of placing a value on people's lives. So let's be real. If that hospital only has, a set amount of slots, and let's say you had a young white man versus an older black lady, right? Who is more worthy of the surgery? Okay, who can produce more, if we choose to save their lives? And what they're going to do is say, this is an older black woman. She is obviously towards the later stage of her life, so it's not really economically responsible to waste this treatment on her. Then they're going to look at the younger white man and say, hey, this is a young dude. The potential of him growing up and producing and adding to our economy is greater. Let's save his life. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to look at people's gender, they're going to look at their race, they're going to look at their age, they're going to look at their backgrounds, and they're going to determine who is best fit for that surgery. So it's still a form of a death panel because you're choosing who lives and who, dies. But I don't really think it's going to be, a roundtable type discussion. Or even if it is, I don't think we're going to be involved at all. I don't even think we're going to know what's going to happen. All you're going to do is get a letter in the mail saying, yes, you've been authorized for the treatment, or no, you haven't. So you won't even know. And, of course, there's a big problem in that because the humanistic side of all of us feels like every life is worth the same, right? Each life is priceless, of course. But when you're dealing with healthcare, they're not going to take a humanistic point of view. They're going to take a business model type of approach. And they have to manage their money. They have to manage their resources. So, unfortunately, you are nothing more than a price. You are nothing more than a social security number. That's really all you are. And at the end of the day, that's the drawback. In terms of this whole universal health care, I think for the most part, you're going to see an over-reliancy on over-the-counter drugs and prescription drugs because it's the only cheap, economical way to service a large group of people. It's unrealistic to say that we're going to cure your disease. It's more realistic to say that, we'll give you a couple of pills. Come back every couple of months, get a checkup. So that's what you're going to see. Because there's just not enough room. And all the whole idea of cosmetic surgeries and all these other non-life-saving procedures that people have done, that's going to go out the window. The only sort of surgery and real medical attention is going to go to those that most need it in terms of saving their lives. Not even to make their lives easier, more so to save their lives. So once again, people just have to understand how the system works. Even if you are on the lower end of the spectrum where, some health care is better than, no health care, understand that does not mean that if you get sick and you need your life to be saved, that your healthcare system is going to come through and save you. So you have to understand the reality of what's going on. So anyways, hopefully, I addressed your question, young man. And TMOT, if you do watch this video, I would love your feedback. And of course, everybody else, give me your feedback. Take it easy. God bless.